So tell me, sweetheart, what's your rank, or are you just here to polish our rifles? Admiral Victor Kane's question hangs in the desert heat like a blade waiting to drop. 6 officers flank him in crisp Navy uniforms, their laughter sharp as they cross the firing line. The afternoon sun beats down on Fort Davidson's outdoor range, where 15 personnel are running qualification drills. Dust rises in lazy spirals from the baked earth. The smell of gun oil and cordite saturates the air. The woman they're addressing doesn't look up. 29 years old, uniform bearing no insignia or rank tabs, she sits cross-legged in the shade of the equipment shed. Her hands move with mechanical precision over a disassembled M110 sniper rifle, cloth moving in small circles across the bolt carrier group. Each movement is economical, practiced, the kind of muscle memory that doesn't come from a manual. Kane steps closer, boots crunching on gravel. 58 years old, chest heavy with ribbons, jaw set in the expression of a man used to being obeyed. His shadow falls across her workspace. She still doesn't look up, just keeps cleaning, cloth moving in the same steady rhythm. "I asked you a question, miss." Lieutenant Brooks moves up beside the Admiral. 32, lean and tanned, second in command, written in every cocky angle of his stance. He crosses his arms, lips curling into something that might be a smile if it held any warmth. "Maybe she doesn't speak English, sir. Probably just facilities maintenance. You know how it is. They let anyone on the range these days for cleanup duty." The other officers chuckle. One of them, a junior lieutenant with a fresh academy shine still clinging to his uniform, nudges his buddy. $10 says she can't even load that thing properly. 20 says she's never fired anything bigger than a 9mm. Behind the firing line, near the range control tower, an older man turns his head. Range Master Ellis, 62, spine still straight despite the years, face weathered like desert stone. He's been running this range for 15 years, seen every type of shooter the military produces. His eyes narrow slightly as he watches the scene unfold. Something about the way the woman holds the rifle components, the angle of her wrists, the breathing pattern, slow, controlled, 4 counts in, 4 counts held, 4 counts out. His jaw tightens. He's seen that pattern before, in very specific places, under very specific circumstances. Kane leans down, voice dropping to that particular tone senior officers use when they want to sound patient but are actually deeply annoyed. "Look at me when I'm talking to you, petty officer, or seaman, or whatever you are." The woman's hands still, for just a heartbeat. Then she sets down the bolt carrier, places the cleaning cloth beside it with the same careful precision. Her fingers are steady, no tremor, no hesitation. When she finally raises her head, her eyes are calm, gray-green, like storm water. They meet Kane's stare without flinching, without anger, without any readable emotion at all. "No rank to report, sir." Her voice is quiet, neutral, the kind of voice that doesn't rise to bait. "Just here to shoot." Brooks snorts. "Just here to shoot. You hear that, Admiral? She's just here to shoot." He turns to the others. "Hope she's got someone to hold her hand on the trigger. Recoil on these babies can be rough if you don't know what you're doing." "Maybe we should spot for her," another officer suggests, grinning. "Make sure she doesn't hurt herself, or embarrass the Corps. Either way." Ellis shifts his weight, hand moving unconsciously toward the radio at his belt. He doesn't key it, not yet, but his attention is locked on the woman now, the way she's breathing. 444. Combat breathing, box breathing. The kind they drill into you in very particular training pipelines, the kind most people don't know exists. He glances at her hands again, the grip she had on that bolt carrier, index and middle finger positioned exactly where they needed to be for a speed reassembly in low-light conditions. He swallows hard. Kane straightens, hands on hips. "You're cleared to be on this range?" "Yes, sir." "And you're planning to shoot today?" "Yes, sir." "At what distance?" For the first time, something flickers across her face. Not quite a smile. More like the shadow of one, gone before it fully forms. 800 meters, sir." The laughter that follows is immediate and loud. Brooks actually slaps his knee. 800. Right. Okay. He looks at Kane. "Sir, with all due respect, I'd like to see this. For educational purposes, I think we could all use a good laugh after the morning briefings." Kane's expression doesn't change, but there's a glint in his eye. Amusement, maybe, or something harder. "By all means, Lieutenant, let's see what our mystery shooter can do." He gestures toward the firing line. "Please, show us your skills." The woman stands without using her hands, rising in one smooth motion from cross-legged to standing. Her uniform is standard issue, slightly faded from washing. No name tape, no unit patch, nothing to identify her beyond the basic fact that she's military. She picks up the rifle, already reassembled, checks the chamber with a glance that takes less than a second, and walks to lane 7. Ellis is already moving toward that lane before he consciously decides to. His boots carry him closer, angling for a better view. Something is crawling up his spine. Recognition, maybe. Or warning. The woman settles into position at the bench, rifle resting on the sandbag support. Her posture is textbook perfect. Left hand under the forestock, right hand on the grip, body squared behind the weapon. She makes one small adjustment to the rear bag, shifting it a fraction of an inch. Then she goes still. Brooks leans against the tower railing, arms crossed. Somebody get her some extra ammo. She's going to need a lot of practice rounds to even get on paper at that distance. Does she even know where the safety is? Someone asks. Probably thinks the scope is a telescope, another voice chimes in. Kane stands with his hands clasped behind his back, watching. His face is unreadable now. All the amusement has drained away, replaced by something else. Wariness, perhaps. Or the beginning of a very different kind of attention. The woman doesn't react to any of it. She just breathes. 444. Her finger stays outside the trigger guard. Range discipline. Perfect. Textbook. She reaches up, makes a minor adjustment to the scope's parallax dial, another adjustment to the windage. Her movements are small, precise, the kind of adjustment someone makes when they've done this thousands of times. Ellis is 10 feet away now, close enough to see her grip, the way her thumb rests along the receiver. The angle of her cheekbone against the stock, his heart starts beating faster. He knows this posture. He's seen it in exactly 2 places in his entire career. And both of those places are classified above his clearance level. Whenever you're ready, Kane calls out, voice dripping with false courtesy. We haven't got all day. The woman's breathing changes. 3 cycles. In, hold out. In, hold out. In, hold out. On the 4th cycle, at the bottom of the exhale, when her lungs are at their emptiest and her body is at its stillest, her finger moves to the trigger. The first shot breaks clean. The rifle barks once, recoil absorbed smoothly into her shoulder. She doesn't flinch, doesn't pull her head off the scope, just works the bolt, chambers the next round, settles, breathes, 2nd shot. Same rhythm. Bolt chamber, settle, breathe, fire. 3rd shot, 4th shot, 5th shot. Total elapsed time from 1st to 5th, 18 seconds. Ellis doesn't need to check the target monitor. He already knows. But he looks anyway, pulling the spotting scope to his eye and ranging downfield to the 800-meter mark. The target is a standard silhouette, black on white, with concentric scoring rings. In the exact center where the highest value zone sits, there are 5 holes. 5 perfect holes, clustered so tight they almost overlap. Bullseye, every single one. He lowers the scope slowly. His hands are shaking. Just slightly, but enough that he has to clench them to make it stop. Brooks has gone quiet. The other officers, too. They're staring at the monitor screen mounted on the tower, showing the automated camera feed of the target. The computer's scoring system is displaying the results in bright green numbers. 5 shots, 5 tens, perfect score, 800 meters, 18 seconds. Kane's jaw is tight. He steps closer to the screen as if proximity will change what he's seeing. Check the equipment, he says quietly. Make sure the rangefinder is calibrated correctly. Sir, it's calibrated every morning, Ellis replies, voice rough. That's protocol, it's accurate. Check it anyway. One of the junior officers jogs out to the 800-meter line, handheld laser rangefinder in hand. He takes 3 readings, then radios back. Distance confirmed, sir. 800 meters, plus or minus 0.5. Brooks is staring at the woman now. She's sitting back from the rifle, hands resting loose in her lap, face still neutral. Still calm, like she just did something completely ordinary. He clears his throat. Lucky shots. Wind must have been favorable. Or maybe the scope is just really high-end. What kind of glass are you running? She doesn't answer. Just looks at him with those stormwater eyes. I asked you a question, Brooks says, voice sharper now. Standard issue, Leopold, she says. Same as everyone else. No way. No way someone shoots like that with standard gear. Brooks looks at Kane. Sir, I'd like to inspect her rifle. Make sure there's no unauthorized modifications. Laser sights, stabilizers, anything that might give an unfair advantage. Kane nods once. Do it. Brooks moves toward lane 7, hand outstretched. The woman watches him come but doesn't move to stop him. He picks up the rifle, turns it over in his hands, checks the scope mounts, the trigger assembly, the barrel. His face grows progressively tighter as he finds nothing. Nothing except a well-maintained, completely standard-issue M110 with a Leopold Mark IV scope. No tricks, no modifications, just a rifle. He sets it down harder than necessary. Fine, so you can shoot. Doesn't mean anything. One good string doesn't make you a sniper. Could have been luck, wind, anything. Ellis steps forward before he can stop himself. Lieutenant, that wasn't luck. His voice carries across the range and several heads turn. That was... Rangemaster Ellis, stand down. Kane interrupts, voice flat. Thank you for your input. Ellis's mouth closes, but his eyes stay locked on the woman. She meets his gaze for just a moment. Something passes between them. Recognition, maybe. Or warning. Then she looks away, turning her attention back to the rifle. Kane walks slowly to lane 7, boot heels clicking on concrete. He stops beside the bench, arms still crossed, studying her like she's a puzzle he needs to solve. Where did you train? Various locations, sir. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I'm authorized to give, sir. Brooks makes a disgusted noise. You're not authorized. You don't have clearance. You're just some nobody who got lucky with a rifle. He leans in closer. Probably had someone teach you. Probably practiced this exact range, this exact setup so you could show off. I've seen it before. People memorizing one trick to impress the brass. The woman doesn't respond, just starts breaking down the rifle again, hands moving through the disassembly sequence without needing to look. Muscle memory. Kane's eyes narrow. If you're really as good as that one string suggests, you'll have no problem demonstrating it again, under more rigorous conditions. She pauses, bolt carrier halfway out. What conditions, sir? Official qualification test. Tomorrow morning, 0800. Different range, different distance, time limit, the works. If you pass, you get certified. If you fail, you're off my range permanently. He leans down, voice dropping. And I'll make sure everyone knows you were just a one-hit wonder. Sir, with respect, I'm not trying to impress anyone. Then you won't mind proving it. Kane straightens. 0800. Bring your own gear. And if you're thinking about backing out, don't bother showing up at all. I don't have time for people who waste my resources. Brooks grins. This is going to be fun. I'll make sure to bring a camera. For the records, of course. The officers drift away, voices rising again in speculation and jokes. Ellis stays where he is, 20 feet back, watching. The woman finishes disassembling the rifle, lays each piece in its foam-lined case with care, and closes the lid. She stands, picks up the case, and turns to leave. As she passes Ellis, she slows. Just for a second. Her eyes flick to his face, and in that brief moment, he sees something that makes his blood run cold. Not anger, not fear, just a kind of tired patience, like someone who's been waiting a very long time for something inevitable to happen. Rangemaster, she says quietly. Just those 2 words. Then she's walking away, boots kicking up small clouds of dust. Ellis watches her go until she's out of sight. Then he pulls out his radio and switches to the encrypted command channel. His hand is shaking again. Control, this is Rangemaster Ellis. I need to flag something. Off record. The response crackles back. Go ahead, Ellis. He hesitates, glancing around to make sure no one is in earshot. That shooter who just cleared 800 meters in under 20 seconds, 5 perfect 10s. I think... He stops, swallows. I think we need to run her prints, quietly. Because if she's who I think she is, we have a serious situation on our hands. Copy that. Send me her lane number and timestamp. We'll look into it. Ellis lowers the radio, staring at the empty lane 7. The sandbags still hold the impression of the rifle. The brass casings are still on the ground, gleaming in the late afternoon sun. 5 perfect shots, 18 seconds, 800 meters. He's been doing this job for 15 years. He's seen Olympic shooters, Spec Ops veterans, Marine Scout snipers with 20 years of experience. None of them, not one, has ever shot a group that tight at that distance under pressure. Not unless they were part of something very, very different. He thinks about the way she breathed. 444. He thinks about the grip, the posture, the way her eyes stayed flat and calm when 6 officers were tearing into her, the way she didn't rise to any of it, didn't defend herself, didn't explain, just took it, like someone who's been through worse, much worse. Like someone who knows that words don't matter when the target is 800 meters downrange. Ellis picks up one of the spent casings, turns it over in his palm. Standard Lake City brass. Nothing special, nothing modified, just a bullet that went exactly where it was supposed to go. He pockets it, almost without thinking, and heads back toward the control tower. His mind is racing now, connecting dots he doesn't want to connect. Dots that form a picture he really doesn't want to see. Because if she's who he thinks she is, then Admiral Kane just made the worst mistake of his career. And tomorrow morning when she shows up for that qualification test, things are going to get very complicated very fast. If you think that was just luck, wait until you see what she's hiding under that sleeve. Hit that like button if you believe in justice that works in silence, and subscribe to watch the arrogant hit their knees begging for forgiveness. The sun dips lower, painting the range in shades of copper and shadow. Somewhere in the distance, a door slams. Voices carry on the wind, fading as personnel head back to barracks and offices. The range empties out, leaving only the target standing sentinel in the heat. Lane 7 sits quiet, waiting. Tomorrow morning is going to be interesting. Fort Davidson Administrative Building, 5:15 p.m. Lieutenant Brooks sits in the small office he shares with two other junior officers, laptop open, coffee going cold beside his elbow. He's been staring at the same screen for 10 minutes, watching the range footage on repeat. The woman, the rifle, 5 shots, 18 seconds, every single one dead center. The timestamp in the corner reads 15:47:22 to 15:47:40. 18 seconds, that don't make sense. He rewinds it again. Watches her settle into position, watches the rifle barely move with each shot, watches her work the bolt like she's done it 10,000 times, which, he realizes with growing unease, she probably has. Nobody shoots like that without serious trigger time. Serious training. The kind of training that doesn't show up in a standard enlistment record. The door opens, and one of his roommates walks in, dropping a gear bag on the floor with a heavy thud. "You still watching that? Let it go, man. She got lucky." Lucky. Brooks doesn't look away from the screen. 5 shots, 800 meters, 18 seconds, all 10s. That's not luck, Jensen. Jensen shrugs, pulling off his boots. So she's good. Big deal. Plenty of good shooters in the military. Not that good. Not at that distance. Not that fast. Brooks finally tears his eyes away from the laptop. I've been doing this for 8 years. I qualified expert marksman 3 years running. My best time at 800 meters is 32 seconds for 5 shots, and I was happy with that. She did it in 18, and her group was tighter than mine ever was. So she's better than you. Happens. Get over it. But Brooks can't get over it, because there's something else bothering him, something he can't quite put his finger on. The way she moved, the way she breathed, the way she didn't react when Kane and the others were riding her. Like she'd heard worse. Like she'd survived worse. Like public humiliation was just background noise compared to wherever she'd been before. He closes the laptop, leans back in his chair. I'm going to check her gear tomorrow before the test, make sure everything's regulation. Dude, Kane already said. I know what Kane said, but I want to see it myself. Something's off. She's too good, too calm. It doesn't add up. Jensen gives him a long look. You know what your problem is? You can't stand that some random woman just rolled up and outshot you in front of the Admiral. That's what this is about. That's not. Brooks stops himself. Maybe Jensen's right. Maybe he is just bitter. But it doesn't change the facts. Nobody shoots like that without a story, without a history. And whatever her history is, she's keeping it locked down tight. No name tape, no rank, no unit patch, just a uniform and a rifle and skills that don't match the blank slate she's presenting. He stands, grabs his jacket. I'm going to run her through the system, see what comes up. You don't even have her name. I've got her face. I've got the time and date she was on the range. That's enough. Brooks heads for the door, then pauses. And if I'm right, if she's hiding something, then tomorrow's test is going to get real interesting. Jensen just shakes his head, pulling out his phone. Whatever, man. Let me know when you find out she's just a really talented enlisted with a chip on her shoulder. I'll laugh at you then. Brooks leaves without responding. The hallway is empty, fluorescent lights humming overhead. He takes the stairs 2 at a time, heading down to the ground floor where the admin offices are. Personnel records, security clearances, service histories. Everything's digitized now, stored in databases that cross-reference with every branch of the military. If she's legit, she'll be in there. And if she's not, well, that's a different problem entirely. He swipes his ID card at the door to the personnel office. It's after hours, but his clearance gets him in. The room is dark except for the glow of a single monitor left on standby. He sits down at the nearest terminal, logs in with his credentials, and pulls up the range access logs from today. Scrolls through until he finds lane 7, timestamp 1545 to 16 Angua. The entry is there, but the name field is blank. Just a notation. Walk-on, cleared by Range Master Ellis. Brooks frowns. Walk-ons are supposed to show ID. That's protocol. How did she get on the range without logging a name? He switches to the security camera feeds, finds the angle covering the sign-in desk at the range entrance, rewinds to 1530. There. She's walking up to the desk, handing something to the clerk. The clerk looks at it, types something into the computer, then waves her through. The whole interaction takes less than 30 seconds. He zooms in on her hand. She's holding some kind of card, but the resolution isn't good enough to make out details. Could be a standard military ID. Could be something else. The clerk's screen is angled away from the camera, so there's no way to see what was entered into the system. Dead end. Brooks sits back, frustrated. He's missing something. Some piece of information that would explain who she is and why she's here. He thinks about the way Rangemaster Ellis reacted. The way the old man went quiet after seeing her shoot. The way he called something in on the encrypted channel. Brooks saw him do it, saw the way Ellis moved away from everyone else before keying his radio, like he didn't want anyone overhearing. Ellis knows something. Brooks is sure of it. And tomorrow, before that test starts, he's going to find out what. Rangemaster's office. 5:45 p.m. Ellis sits at his desk, hands folded, staring at the phone. It rang 20 minutes ago. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes. 5 minutes that changed everything. The voice on the other end had been calm, professional, the kind of voice that doesn't waste words. Rangemaster Ellis, this is Colonel Vance, G2. We've processed the inquiry you sent up this afternoon. The individual in question is cleared to be on your range. Beyond that, I can't tell you anything else. Do you understand? Sir, I need to know. You need to know that she's cleared. That's all. Do not run her prints. Do not flag her access. Do not discuss this conversation with anyone outside of secure channels. Are we clear, Rangemaster? Ellis had swallowed hard. Yes, sir, clear. Good. And Ellis? If she shoots tomorrow, let her shoot. Don't interfere. That's an order. The line had gone dead before Ellis could respond. Now he sits in the quiet of his office trying to process it. G2. Intelligence. They don't get involved in range operations. They don't call down to installations like Fort Davidson unless something significant is happening. Something that crosses into the world of need to know and above your clearance level. He's been in the military long enough to recognize the signs. The careful non-answers. The orders disguised as suggestions. The implication that asking more questions would be career-limiting. She's not just some talented shooter, she's something else. Something protected. Something that makes full-bird colonels call down from intelligence shops to tell range masters to stand down and shut up. Ellis opens his desk drawer, pulls out the spent casing he pocketed earlier, turns it over in his fingers. Standard brass, but the way she shot it, the precision, the speed, that's not standard. That's something else entirely. He thinks about the tattoo he almost saw. When she was reassembling the rifle, her sleeve rode up just slightly, just enough for him to catch a glimpse of ink on her forearm. Dark lines, geometric. He didn't get a good look, but it was there. And if he's right about who she is, that tattoo is going to tell a very specific story. Tomorrow morning, when she shows up for the qualification test, things are going to get complicated because Admiral Kane doesn't know what he's walking into. And Brooks, with his bruised ego and his need to prove something, is going to push. Push hard. And when you push someone like her, someone with that kind of training, that kind of history, you don't get the reaction you expect. You get something much worse. Ellis sets the casing down, picks up his phone, and scrolls through his contacts. Finds a name he hasn't called in 3 years. Master Sergeant Lin, retired, living about 40 minutes away in Mesa. Lin was JSOC, spent 20 years in places that don't appear on maps, doing things that don't appear in after-action reports. If anyone can confirm what Ellis suspects, it's him. He hits dial. The phone rings twice before a gravelly voice answers. Ellis, this is a surprise. Lin, I need to ask you something, off the record. A pause. Go ahead. If I describe a shooter to you, female, late 20s, No visible rank or unit identification, shoots 5 perfect 10s at 800 meters in under 20 seconds with standard gear. What would you tell me? Another pause, longer this time. When Lynn speaks again, his voice has changed. Gone flat. Careful. I'd tell you to stop asking questions and walk away. That's what I thought. Ellis, listen to me. If you've got someone like that on your range, you do your job and nothing else. You don't dig, you don't speculate, you definitely don't get in the way. Kane's pushing her. Scheduled a qualification test tomorrow, public. He's going to try to embarrass her. Lynn curses quietly. Then Kane's an idiot, and you need to be ready for things to go sideways. How sideways? The kind of sideways that ends with people asking questions you can't answer. The kind that gets flagged all the way up to the Pentagon if it goes wrong. Ellis, I'm serious. If she's who I think she is, you're not dealing with some enlisted shooter looking to prove a point. You're dealing with someone who's been through the worst this world has to offer and came out the other side. And if Kane pushes too hard... Lynn stops himself. Just be ready. That's all I'm saying. The line goes dead. Ellis sets the phone down slowly. His hands are shaking again. He looks at the casing one more time, then drops it back in the drawer and locks it. Tomorrow morning, 0800 hours, lane 3. Qualification test. Different range, different conditions. All the pressure Kane can bring to bear. And somewhere out there, the woman with no name and stormwater eyes is preparing. Not worried, not nervous, just preparing. Because whatever Kane thinks is going to happen tomorrow, he's wrong. Dead wrong. Ellis stands, turns off the desk lamp, and heads for the door. As he walks out into the cooling evening air, he says a quiet prayer. Not for the woman. She doesn't need it. For Kane. Because tomorrow morning, the Admiral is going to learn a very hard lesson about assumptions. And that lesson is going to come at 800 meters, delivered in under 20 seconds. Temporary quarters, Building 12, 2200 hours. The room is small, cinder block walls painted institutional beige, single bed, metal locker, desk and chair bolted to the floor. Standard temporary billeting for transient personnel. No personal items visible except for a single duffel bag on the floor beside the bed. The woman sits at the desk, laptop open, screen casting blue-white light across her face. She's not looking at the screen. She's looking at her hands, at the faint scar tissue on her knuckles, barely visible in the dim light, at the calluses on her fingertips from years of trigger time, at the line on her left ring finger where a piece of shrapnel once embedded itself deep enough to require field surgery. Each mark tells a story. Each scar is a chapter in a book most people will never read. Her sleeve is rolled up now. No reason to hide it when she's alone. The tattoo runs from mid-forearm to just below the elbow. Scope reticle, crosshairs. Number 847 in clean, precise digits. Below that, smaller text, Death Angel, and dates, 2018-2021. The ink is military grade, done by someone who knew what they were doing. It's not decorative, it's documentary, a record, evidence. She traces the outline with one finger, feeling the slight raised texture where the ink sits under the skin. 847. Not all of them were bad people, some were just unlucky. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong side of someone else's war. But they all had one thing in common. They were targets. Designated. Confirmed. Eliminated. She did her job. Every single time. The laptop chimes softly. New email. She glances at the screen. No sender name, just an encrypted address that resolves to a string of alphanumerics. She opens it, enters the decryption key from memory, and reads. Situation developing as expected. Kane took the bait. Test scheduled for 0800. Brooks is digging. Ellis knows more than he's saying. Proceed to Phase 2. Reveal only when forced. Package delivery confirmed for 2330 hours. Good luck, Captain. She closes the email, runs a 3-pass wipe on the message, and shuts the laptop. Captain. It's been a long time since anyone called her that to her face. 3 years, to be exact. 3 years since the bombing in Kabul. Since the explosion that was supposed to kill her. Since the 8 months in that basement room, zip-tied to a chair, answering the same questions over and over, while men with blank faces did things she still dreams about when sleep won't come. They thought they broke her. They were wrong. You can't break someone who's already decided they're dead. You can hurt them. You can make them scream. But you can't take away the core of who they are if they've already let go of everything else. She survived by being empty, by being nothing, by waiting. And then, when they finally got careless, when they left her alone for just 15 minutes because they thought she was too damaged to move, she killed 3 of them with a piece of rebar and walked out. Walked 12 miles through Taliban territory in the dark, barefoot, bleeding from a dozen places, and made it to a checkpoint manned by Pakistani border guards who almost shot her on sight. The SEALs who extracted her didn't ask questions. They just loaded her onto the helo, wrapped her in a shock blanket, and flew her out. The debrief came later, the medical treatment, the psych evals. The decision, made somewhere far above her pay grade, that Captain Vera Cross was too compromised to return to active duty, that her identity was burned, that for everyone's safety, including hers, she needed to disappear. So they disappeared her. New name, new records, new life. She became a ghost in truth, not just in call sign. And for 3 years she lived quietly, worked odd jobs, stayed off the grid, tried to figure out who she was when she wasn't Death Angel anymore. But then the intel came through. The same network that killed her father, the same people who tortured her. They were still operating, still embedded in the military infrastructure, still selling information, sabotaging operations, getting good people killed for profit. And one of their next targets was Admiral Victor Kane, not because he was dirty, because he was about to testify before a closed congressional hearing about procurement fraud and intelligence leaks, because he knew too much. Because 8 years ago, he and Brigadier General David Cross had been partners in an investigation that almost exposed the whole network. An investigation that ended when David Cross died in a car bombing outside his home in Virginia. Vera was 13 years old when it happened. She watched the news footage of the burning wreckage, watched them carry her father out in pieces, watched her mother collapse at the funeral, watched the investigation get quietly shelved as mechanical failure despite all the evidence pointing the other way. She learned early that the system doesn't always protect you. Sometimes it protects the people hurting you. And sometimes, if you want justice, you have to become something the system can't ignore. So, she joined the military at 18, enlisted, worked her way through the ranks, proved herself over and over until they noticed, until JSOC came calling, until she went to the places where the real war happens, away from cameras and oversight. And every confirmed kill she made, every target she eliminated, she checked against the list of names connected to her father's death, 23 of them, scattered across her 847. 23 people who thought they were safe, who thought they'd gotten away with it. They were wrong. But the network is bigger than 23 people. It's bigger than she realized. And now it's coming for Kane, which means it's time to stop hiding. Time to use the one thing they don't know, that she's still alive, that Death Angel didn't die in Kabul, that she's here, watching, waiting for them to make a mistake. And tomorrow morning, when Kane tries to humiliate her in front of witnesses, when Brooks tries to catch her in some imagined fraud, when they push and prod and try to make her break, that's when they'll see. That's when the tattoo comes out. That's when the truth stops being hideable. Not because she wants recognition. Recognition is dangerous, but because Kane needs to know he's a target. Because Brooks needs to understand he's being used. Because the only way to stop what's coming is to flip the board and force everyone to see what's really happening. A knock at the door. 3 raps. Pause. 2 more. The delivery. Vera stands, crosses to the door, opens it a crack. A man in civilian clothes, mid-30s, blank expression. He hands her a small case, nods once, and walks away without a word. She closes the door, sets the case on the desk, opens it. Inside, a phone. Pre-programmed, encrypted, untraceable. And a single photograph. Admiral Kane, leaving the base housing area, date stamp from 2 hours ago. In the background, barely visible, a sedan with tinted windows. Same sedan that was parked outside her father's house the night before he died. She'd recognize it anywhere. Different plates, different year maybe, but the same model, the same configuration, the network's signature. They like consistency. She sets the photo aside, picks up the phone. It's already powered on, showing one contact. Tower 4. She doesn't call. Not yet. First comes tomorrow. First comes the reveal. First comes the moment when Kane realizes what he's dealing with. Then the call. Then phase 3. Vera rolls her sleeve back down, covering the tattoo. She lies on the bed, hands behind her head, staring at the ceiling. Sleep won't come easy tonight. It never does before an operation. But that's fine. She's used to operating on no sleep, used to functioning through pain, through fear, through everything the human body is supposed to shut down from. JSOC trained that out of her years ago. Tomorrow morning, 0800 hours, Kane and Brooks are going to try to break her. They're going to fail. And in the process of failing, they're going to set off a chain reaction they don't understand. A chain reaction that ends with the network exposed, the guilty punished, and justice, real justice, not the sanitized version, finally delivered. 847 confirmed kills, 23 of them for her father, the rest for her country, for her unit, for the mission. Tomorrow's not about adding to that count. Tomorrow's about making sure number 848 never happens. Making sure Kane lives long enough to testify. Making sure the people who killed David Cross don't get to kill anyone else. She closes her eyes. Breathes. 444. The rhythm that's kept her alive through firefights and interrogations and 3 years of hiding. The rhythm that will carry her through tomorrow. Through whatever comes after. Because she's not just a shooter. She's not just a soldier. She's a promise made in blood and kept in silence. A promise that the guilty will answer. That the dead will be avenged. That the system, for all its flaws, can still be forced to do the right thing. If you're willing to pay the price. And Vera Cross has been paying that price for 16 years. Since the day her father died. Since the day she decided that some debts can only be settled one way. With patience. With precision. With the kind of cold, methodical determination that doesn't stop until the target is down and the mission is complete. Tomorrow morning, the mission continues. And Admiral Kane, whether he knows it or not, is about to become an asset. A protected asset. The kind that lives because someone else decided they were worth dying for. She hopes he's worth it. She really does. Because if this goes wrong, if the network figures out what she's doing before she can finish, then all of this, all 16 years, all 847 lives will have been for nothing. But it won't go wrong. She won't let it. Death Angel doesn't miss. Not at 800 meters. Not at 800 yards. Not ever. The ceiling fan turns slowly overhead, blades cutting through the still air. Outside, footsteps pass in the hallway. Someone laughs. Someone else shouts something inaudible. Normal sounds. Normal life. The kind of life she used to have before she became this. Before the tattoo. Before the list. Before everything. Maybe, when this is over, she can have that again. Maybe she can be Vera Cross, daughter and soldier, instead of Death Angel, ghost and weapon. Maybe there's a version of her future that doesn't end in a dark room with zip ties and blank-faced men asking questions she'll never answer. Maybe. But first, tomorrow. First, the test. First, the reveal. First, the moment when Admiral Victor Kane looks at her arm and realizes he's not dealing with some random enlisted shooter. He's dealing with the woman who saved his life 5 years ago in a valley in Afghanistan, the woman who's been dead for 3 years, the woman who's about to tell him he's next on the list unless she stops it, and she will stop it, no matter what it takes, no matter who has to fall. The mission is all that matters. The mission is all she has left. Vera opens her eyes one last time, glances at the photograph on the desk. Kane, the sedan, the network closing in. She commits it to memory, then picks up the photo and tears it into small pieces, flushing them down the toilet in the small attached bathroom. Evidence destroyed, trail cleaned, everything exactly as it should be. Tomorrow, 0800 hours, Fort Davidson qualification range, lane 3, different setup, different conditions. Same outcome, because the only thing that changes is the distance. The principles stay the same. Breathe, settle, fire, repeat, until the target is down, until the mission is complete, until justice, finally, is served. She lies back down. This time, sleep comes. Not easy, not peaceful, but it comes. And with it, dreams. Not of the basement room, not of the interrogation, but of her father, standing in their old kitchen, making breakfast, smiling, alive, the way he was before the bomb, before the network, before everything went wrong. In the dream, he looks at her and says, "I'm proud of you, Vera. Finish it." And she will. Starting tomorrow, starting at 0800 hours, starting with 5 perfect shots and 1 very surprised Admiral. The fan turns, the night deepens, and Death Angel sleeps, dreaming of justice. The morning air carries the coolness of desert night. The qualification range sits isolated on the far side of Fort Davidson, designed for formal testing under observation. Concrete firing positions, standardized target arrays, camera systems covering every angle. Nothing left to chance. Admiral Kane arrives early with 4 officers, including Brooks. They set up observation positions with clear sight lines to Lane 3. Brooks carries a thick clipboard, range regulations, equipment specifications, scoring criteria. He's been preparing since 0500, ensuring every detail gets documented, making certain when she fails, it's recorded from every angle. Range Master Ellis stands near the control booth, face unreadable. He hasn't slept, spent the night reviewing protocols, running scenarios, trying to manage what's coming. Colonel Vance's orders were clear: don't interfere. But Ellis knows when something is about to go wrong, and every instinct screams this morning will be one of those times. By 0758, a crowd gathers. Word spread overnight. The mystery shooter who embarrassed the Admiral. People want to see her fail, want confirmation that yesterday was luck, that the natural order, where skill matches rank, still holds. Brooks checks his watch. 2 minutes. Think she'll show? Kane doesn't answer, staring at the entrance. Something about yesterday keeps nagging him. The breathing pattern, the absolute lack of reaction to pressure. He's seen that before, in very specific people. In places where call signs replace names and missions stay classified for 50 years. At exactly 0800, she walks through the gate. Same uniform, no insignia, rifle case in one hand. She moves through the crowd like they're invisible, eyes fixed on Lane 3. No hesitation, just steady forward motion. Brooks steps into her path. I need to inspect your equipment before you shoot. She stops, looks at him, doesn't speak. Regulations. Any shooter using personal weapons must submit to pre-qualification inspection. Open the case. She sets it down, flips the latches. Brooks kneels, examining components. Stock, receiver, barrel, scope. He checks serial numbers, examines mounts, measures trigger pull. Everything passes. His frustration mounts with each regulation-compliant item. Finally, he closes the case. Fine. You're cleared. He stands. But understand this. You're shooting at 1,000 meters today, not 800. Different wind, different elevation, different everything. 3 attempts, 5 shots each. Minimum score 45 out of 50 to pass. And this time, we've got cameras on every angle. She picks up the case, walks to Lane 3, sets up without a word. The crowd presses closer. Someone jokes about needing binoculars to see her miss. The atmosphere turns carnival-like. The range safety officer calls procedures. Shooter, you have 10 minutes to prepare. 3 attempts, 5 shots per attempt. Minimum score 45 to qualify. Range is hot. You may begin when ready. Vera settles into position, checks the scope, makes adjustments. Methodical, unhurried. The rifle settles onto the rest. Breathing begins. 444. Brooks leans toward Kane. Watch. First shot will be off. Classic amateur mistake at this distance. The first shot breaks clean. Downrange 1,000 meters away, the target camera displays the impact. Center ring. 10 points. Brooks blinks. Lucky. Wind assisted. Watch the next one. Second shot. Same mechanical rhythm. Target camera shows another center hit. 10 points. The crowd quiets. Jokes stop. People lean forward. Third shot. Fourth. Fifth. Each lands center ring. Perfect group. 50 out of 50. First attempt. Brooks stares at the monitor. His face goes pale. Check the rangefinder. Something's wrong. Ellis keys the radio. All systems confirmed accurate. Range is 1,000 meters plus or minus 0.3. Calibration verified this morning per protocol. Kane steps forward, eyes locked on the display. 5 holes forming a cluster smaller than his fist, at 1,000 meters, with variable wind. His mind races, connecting dots. The breathing, the posture, the precision. This isn't just skill. Attempt 2, the safety officer calls. Brooks holds up a hand. Wait, change conditions. Move her to lane 5. Ellis's voice crackles sharp. Lieutenant, that's not protocol. I'm invoking safety officer discretion. Lane 3 has wind shadow. Lane 5 is fully exposed. If she's as good as she claims, it won't matter. Kane nods slowly. Do it. Vera stands without comment, walks to lane 5, sets up again, same preparation, same checklist. The crowd follows, murmuring. This is irregular, this is pressure. She doesn't react, just sets up, settles, breathes. 444. Lane 5 sits fully exposed. Flags downrange snap harder, showing gusts to 10 miles per hour. The angle is different, requiring adjustments. Brooks counts on this breaking whatever lucky streak she had. 5 shots, same rhythm, same precision. 5 more center hits, another perfect 50, 100 out of 100 total. The crowd falls silent, no jokes, just stunned attention. People pull out phones, recording. This is becoming a story people will tell. Brooks drops his clipboard. 3rd attempt. I want... No, Kane says quietly. No more attempts. She's qualified. More than qualified. He steps closer. Who trained you? Vera doesn't look up. Various instructors, sir. That's not an answer. It's the answer you're cleared to receive, sir. Kane's jaw tightens. I want your identification, your full service record, right now. She finally looks at him. Stormwater eyes, flat and calm. I don't think you do, sir. Not here. Not in front of everyone. That wasn't a request. Brooks moves closer. Show us your ID. Show us your orders. Show us anything proving you're supposed to be here, because I'm starting to think you're running some kind of scam. He reaches for her arm, intending to pull her to her feet, to force compliance. His fingers close around her left forearm, gripping tight. When he pulls, her sleeve rides up. The tattoo becomes visible, clear, undeniable. Scope reticle. Crosshairs, the number 847. Text. Death Angel. Dates. 2018, 2021. The JSOC insignia underneath. Brooks freezes. Hand still on her arm, but stopped moving, just staring. His mouth opens. Nothing comes out. The crowd erupts in whispers. Those close enough point. Someone gasps. Ellis has gone white, gripping the console. He knew, suspected, but seeing confirmation is different. He keys the radio. All personnel, stand down. I repeat, stand down. Kane stares at the tattoo. His face cycles through confusion, disbelief, recognition, horror. His lips form a word that doesn't come out. Then louder. 847. She pulls her arm away. Brooks lets go like burned. She rolls the sleeve back down, but damage is done. Everyone saw. Ghost? Kane's voice barely whispers, then louder as memory crashes into him. Your ghost. The silence is absolute. 50 people frozen, the name Ghost, the number 847, the dates ending in 2021. The woman dead for 3 years standing before them, breathing, alive, undeniable. An older man pushes through, Master Sergeant Lynn, retired, who drove from Mesa at Ellis's request. He stops 10 feet away, looks at the tattoo still partially visible, and his face transforms. Recognition, respect, awe. Death Angel, Operation Silent Dawn, Afghanistan 2020. You pulled Kane's team from that valley. 30 hostiles down in 6 minutes. Longest confirmed, 1,200 meters. They said you died in Kabul. Want to know how someone dead for 3 years ends up saving the living? Share this video so everyone sees what real justice looks like. Vera stands slowly. Faces Kane. I'm Captain Vera Cross, JSOC, Sniper Operations 2018 through 2021. 847 confirmed eliminations. And you, Admiral Kane, are in immediate danger. Kane steps back. What are you talking about? The same network that killed my father, Brigadier General David Cross, in 2016 is targeting you. They know you're scheduled to testify before Congress next month. They know you have evidence. They're planning to eliminate you before that happens. Brooks finds his voice shaky. That's insane. Lieutenant Brooks, how long has your family been receiving threats? When did photographs start arriving? Ones showing your wife Sarah leaving work, your children Emma and Lucas at school? Brooks goes rigid. How do you know those names? Because the same people threatening them sent me to die in Kabul. They've been using you, putting pressure on you to sabotage anyone getting close to Kane. They have your family right now, and they're using you to ensure Kane dies before he testifies. The clipboard falls. He's shaking. You don't know what you're talking about. Warehouse south side of base. 2 guards outside. 3 inside with hostages. You've been getting encrypted messages 6 weeks. First small things, reports, schedules, then escalation. Instructions to interfere with anyone showing unusual interest in Kane. Yesterday, when I showed up, they told you to make sure I failed publicly. Brooks backs away, face collapsing. I didn't have a choice. They said they'd kill them. They showed me proof. I had to. I know. That's why I'm here, to get them back. Kane processes everything. The woman he thought dead, the network he thought dormant, the threat he didn't know existed. If this is true, why hide? Why not come directly to me? Because I needed to know who the traitor was. I needed the network confident enough to move openly, and I needed you to see me shoot before I told you what was coming. She looks steadily at him. 5 years ago in that valley, you asked over radio who I was. I said it didn't matter. You just needed to stay alive. Same situation now, Admiral. You need to stay alive long enough to testify. I'm here to make sure that happens. Lynn steps forward. Captain Cross, what do you need? Extract Lieutenant Brooks's family. I have 43 minutes before they're moved to secondary location. After that, we lose them. She turns to Brooks. I can get them back, but you help me. Tell me everything, right now. Brooks cries openly. 6 weeks of terror, impossible choices, being crushed between protecting family and betraying oath finally breaking through. Warehouse. Industrial District. South Side. I don't know exact address. They blindfolded me when they showed me they were alive. I know where it is. I've been surveilling the network 3 months. I know their safe houses, protocols, personnel. She looks at Kane. I need your authorization to conduct hostage rescue on U.S. soil within base perimeter. Now, sir. Kane doesn't hesitate. You have it. What else? I need Lieutenant Brooks with me. And you stay here, surrounded by witnesses, until this ends. The network won't move on you while there's a crowd. She pauses. And I need Rangemaster Ellis to pull security footage from 3 months ago. Any vehicles entering industrial area between 0200 and 0400 hours. The person running this network is on this base, high rank, trusted, operating in plain sight. Ellis is already moving. On it. Kane looks at Vera. Really looks, seeing past the uniform to the person underneath. The woman who saved his life, who spent 8 months in hell, who's been hunting her father's killers 16 years. Why didn't you just tell me when you arrived? She meets his eyes. Because I needed you to understand who I am before I asked you to trust me. Yesterday you saw a nobody. Today you know I'm Ghost, the woman who saved your life, the woman who doesn't miss. And now I'm asking you to trust me one more time. She pauses, voice dropping. 8 years ago, my father and you were investigating procurement fraud together. Partners. He found evidence of a corruption network embedded in military procurement and intelligence. The night before he was going to brief the Secretary of Defense, someone planted a bomb under his car. I was 13 years old. I watched the news footage, watched them carry him out in pieces. Her voice stays steady, but something raw enters it. They ruled it mechanical failure, closed the investigation. But I knew. Even at 13, I knew someone murdered him. So I waited, joined the military at 18, worked my way up, got recruited to JSOC. And every mission I ran, every target I eliminated, I checked against a list of names connected to my father's death. 23 of my 847 were on that list. 23 people who thought they'd gotten away with killing a brigadier general. Kane's face has gone ashen. David Cross was my friend, my partner. When he died, He stops. I knew it wasn't mechanical failure, but I had no proof, and I was scared. I had a wife, kids, so I stayed quiet, told myself there was nothing I could do. I know, Vera says quietly. That's why I'm here now, not for revenge, not for recognition, but because the same network that killed my father is coming for you, and this time I have the skill, the training, and the evidence to stop them. But I need you alive to testify. I need Brooks to choose redemption over fear, and I need 42 minutes to pull off a hostage rescue that saves 3 innocent people and breaks this network open. Brooks wipes his face. If you're lying, then your family dies and Kane dies and the network wins. But I'm not lying, Lieutenant. I'm giving you one chance to fix this, to be on the right side when it matters, to save your family and help me finish what my father started. She picks up her rifle case. Are you coming or not? Brooks looks at Kane. The Admiral nods once. Go. Bring them home. And Brooks, you made impossible choices under impossible pressure. But now you get a chance to make it right. Take it. Brooks straightens slightly. Brooks. Yes, sir. The crowd parts as Vera and Brooks move through. Lynn falls in behind them. 3 other veterans who recognize what's happening follow. By the time they reach the parking area, it's a 6-person element. They load into 2 vehicles. Vera drives the lead, Brooks beside her. As they pull out, heading south toward Industrial District, the sun breaks over the eastern horizon. Golden light floods the desert. 41 minutes until hostages move. Industrial Warehouse, South Perimeter, 0852. The warehouse sits isolated, surrounded by chain-link fence. 2 guards outside, smoking, weapons slung casual. They're not expecting trouble. The network has operated untouched for years. Complacency has set in. Vera parks 3 blocks away, gathers the element. Brooks, you stay with the vehicles, engine running. When we come out with your family, you drive. Understood? I should go in. You're compromised emotionally. You'll make mistakes. Trust me to do my job. She looks at Lynn and the others. Non-lethal if possible, but priority is hostages. They come out alive no matter what. Lynn nods. Rules of engagement? Protect the innocent. Everything else is secondary. She checks her watch. 38 minutes. We go in 3. They approach from 2 angles. Vera takes the east side, Lynn the west. The 2 guards don't see them coming until it's too late. 2 suppressed shots, tranquilizer rounds, not lethal, and both guards drop. The element moves to the door. Vera doesn't breach dramatically. She picks the lock, opens the door slowly. Silence is a weapon too. Inside, 3 men sit playing cards. Behind them, in a corner, Sarah Brooks and 2 children sit bound but unharmed. The men don't have time to react. Vera's element moves like water, smooth, fast, overwhelming. Within 15 seconds, all 3 are on the ground, flex-cuffed, disarmed. Sarah is crying, pulling her children close. But Vera isn't done. She moves to a back office, rifle ready, kicks the door open. Inside, a woman sits at a desk. 52 years old, gray hair pulled tight, uniform bearing the insignia of a full colonel. Diane Frost, deputy commander of Fort Davidson, trusted, respected, and the architect of the entire network. Frost looks up calmly. Captain Cross, I wondered when you'd figure it out. Stand up. Hands where I can see them. Frost stands slowly. You know this doesn't end anything. I'm one node. The network is bigger than you realize. Maybe, but you're the node that killed my father. You're the node that sold me to the Taliban. You're the node that ends today. Vera's voice is ice. And you're going to testify. You're going to give up every name, every account, every piece of evidence. Because the alternative is spending the rest of your life in a cell at Leavenworth with no deal, no protection, no hope. Frost smiles coldly. You think I'm afraid of prison? No. But I think you're afraid of irrelevance, of being forgotten, of dying in a cell while the network moves on without you. Vera steps closer. Testify, and you get to be the one who brings it all down. Your name in the history books, the whistleblower. Refuse, and you're just another corrupt officer who got caught. Your choice, Colonel. For the first time, something flickers in Frost's eyes. Fear, maybe, or calculation. On your knees, Vera says quietly. Hands behind your head. Frost hesitates. Then slowly she kneels. Lynn moves in, cuffing her. Outside, Brooks sees his family emerge. Sarah runs to him, children clinging. He drops to his knees, pulling them close, sobbing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have. You saved us, Sarah whispers. That's what matters. Vera exits last, Frost walking ahead of her in cuffs. Kane has arrived with military police. Helicopter overhead. The base is locked down tight. Kane approaches Frost, face hard. Why? Frost says nothing. Why kill David Cross? Why target me? Why betray everything you swore to protect? Frost finally speaks. Because the system is broken. Because the people at the top get rich while the people at the bottom die. Because someone needs to profit from all this chaos, and it might as well be us. Kane's voice drops. Us. You said us. Who else? Frost smiles. Doesn't answer. Vera steps forward. She'll talk. They always do when the alternative is watching their empire collapse from inside a cell. Military police load Frost into a vehicle. Load the 5 captured men into another. Medical personnel check Sarah and the children, shaken but unharmed. Brooks approaches Vera. Slowly, in front of everyone, he drops to his knees. Captain Cross, I humiliated you, doubted you, sabotaged you, while you were protecting my family, while you were stopping the people who would have killed Admiral Kane, while you were finishing what your father started. His voice breaks. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway, because you gave me back everything that matters. You gave me my family. You gave me the chance to do the right thing, and I will spend the rest of my career making sure no one forgets what you did here. Vera looks down at him. Stand up, Lieutenant. I don't deserve... Stand up. Her voice is firm but not harsh. You were put in an impossible situation. You made mistakes. But when it mattered, you chose to help. You chose to trust me. That's enough. She pauses. Your family is safe. That's what matters. Go be with them. Brooks stands shakily. Thank you for everything. Kane steps forward as Brooks walks away. For a long moment, he just looks at Vera. Then slowly, deliberately, he comes to attention, salutes. Captain Cross, on behalf of the United States Navy, on behalf of every person you've protected and saved, on behalf of your father who would be proud beyond measure, thank you. Vera returns the salute. Just doing my job, sir. No. Kane's voice roughens. You did far more than your job. You carried a burden no one should carry. You hunted killers while being hunted yourself. You sacrificed everything, your identity, your peace, your chance at a normal life, to finish what David and I started 8 years ago. He drops the salute. And I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't have the courage to keep going when David died. Sorry I stayed silent while you fought alone. Sorry it took you coming back from the dead to make me remember what honor actually means. You're testifying now, Vera says quietly. That takes courage. Only because you gave me the chance. Only because you saved my life twice. Once in Afghanistan, once here. Kane pauses. What happens now? Now the evidence goes to Congress. Frost's network unravels. 12 officers under investigation by this evening, 20 more by week's end. The procurement fraud, the intelligence leaks, all of it comes into the light. Vera glances at the sunrise. My father's death finally means something. The system he believed in finally works. And you? What happens to Captain Vera Cross? I testify, then I disappear again. Ghost was always meant to be temporary. You've earned a Medal of Honor, a promotion, recognition. I don't want recognition, sir. I want my father's killers in prison. I want the network broken. I want you alive to testify. Mission accomplished. She starts to turn away. Vera, Kane's voice stops her. Your father told me something the night before he died. He said, if anything happens to me, tell Vera she doesn't have to be a soldier. Tell her she can just be my daughter. Tell her that's enough. Vera's eyes close briefly. When she opens them, they're wet. Thank you for that, sir. Will you consider staying? The military needs people like you, people who can't be bought or scared or broken. The military has people like me. They just need leaders like you to protect them. She offers a faint smile. 847 confirmed kills. I think I've done my share. Time to let someone else carry the rifle. Kane nods slowly, extends his hand. She shakes it. As military police finish processing the scene, as medical personnel tend to the Brooks family, as the sun climbs higher and the base begins to fully wake, Vera walks to her vehicle. Lynn approaches. What's next, Captain? She looks at him. You tell me, Master Sergeant. You've been retired 3 years. You miss it? Lynn laughs softly. Every single day. Then maybe it's time we both found something new to do. Something that doesn't involve people shooting at us. Sounds boring. Sounds perfect. They stand in comfortable silence, watching the activity. 2 veterans. 2 people who've seen too much and given too much. 2 people, finally, maybe, getting the chance to rest. 3 months later. Congressional testimony concludes. Frost receives 35 years. 4 other colonels receive 20 to 30 years each. 12 more officers face court-martial. The network is shattered. Brooks returns to duty, cleared of all charges due to duress. His family is safe. He starts an informal mentoring program for junior officers facing ethical dilemmas. Kane testifies for 6 hours, delivering evidence that reforms procurement oversight across all branches. He retires with full honors 6 months later. Establishes a scholarship fund in Brigadier General David Cross's name. Vera Cross officially retires from military service. Declines Medal of Honor. Give it to someone still fighting, but accepts promotion to major in recognition of 16 years of service. She buys a small house in New Mexico. Quiet, isolated. The kind of place where neighbors don't ask questions. But on her desk, partially opened, sits an envelope, unmarked, hand-delivered 3 days ago. Inside, a single photograph, a military base she doesn't recognize, a circled figure in the background, and a note. Tower 4 sends regards. One name remains. She stares at the photo for a long time, then places it in a drawer. Not forgotten, just deferred, because justice isn't loud, it's patient. And Vera Cross has been patient for 16 years. She can be patient a little longer. The rifle case sits in her closet, cleaned, maintained, ready, just in case, because Death Angel may have retired. But some promises don't expire, some debts never close, and some missions never truly end. They just wait, quiet, watching. Until the moment comes when silence breaks and the final shot is fired and justice, at last, is complete. She closes the drawer, makes coffee, steps onto her porch to watch the sunrise over the desert. For now, she's just Vera, daughter, veteran, survivor. But if Tower 4 calls again, if that one remaining name steps into the light, if the mission demands one more confirmed kill to truly finish what her father started 16 years ago, well, Death Angel doesn't miss, not at 1,000 meters.
Every soldier carry a story that few ever hear. Listen with your heart. Thank you for staying and watching. Subscribe to MVB Story for more.